Juvenile detention centers are hard to differentiate from that of adult prisons. Yet, American children, once in our judicial system, are caught in a cycle from which there really is no escape. All too often, once released, they have the lingering effects of shame that may last through their entire adulthood, and that often repeats as repeat offenders. Now, in a 9-part podcast called Caught: The Lives of Juvenile Justice, WNYC opens the doors, taking listeners behind bars. Host Kai Wright joins us to discuss where we're going wrong and how we can right this. Kai, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
This is a really heavy subject.
It is. It is.
So tell me first, what is the difference that most people don't understand between adult and juvenile systems?
Well, there isn't a big difference as part of the problem. There's been a long history in the United States of trying to differentiate juvenile offenders from adult offenders. They're obviously different in fundamental ways. But over the last 30, 40 years, we have been in a political process where we have so tightened, we've been so, the tough on crime idea that has swept across all ages has meant a further and further shrinking of the difference between those two systems so that you have more and more kids going into adult systems for a wider range of crimes. And that just means that the theory of an adult system is based on punishment at this point. And the theory of a juvenile system was supposed to be, well, they're young. It is an opportunity for reform. So there's just fewer and fewer and fewer opportunities for really getting help as opposed to just being punished.
The whole point is that once you are out and you've served your time, your debt to society, why is it so hard for them to just get it together?
Well, the reality is, here's the thing. Almost all of us have a relationship to this. Have a relationship to this system. There is certainly if you're talking about looking around New York, Black and brown New York, around the country, most of us have a son, daughter, cousin, brother, somebody in our lives who has come into trouble with the law. I'm not talking about crazy super predators, as they have been dubbed, as far back as the 90s. We're talking about our families. And so when we think of it that way, we can see that we know there are people in our families who need help. Adolescence is hard. For the best of us, it's hard, And there are people with mental health problems. There are people with substance abuse problems. There are people who have been abused in their lives, and they don't get the help. And the only way that they end up with the help in many cases is when they end up inside a criminal justice system. And so part of the conversation around recidivism and whether they get in or get out is about that people have never gotten the help that they need, because all we're doing is responding to cries for help with punishment instead of actual help.
If you are accustomed to getting the help that you need in the criminal justice system, and if that starts so young, does that almost guarantee, or can you break that cycle from going into adult prisons?
I don't know. A lot of people are working on this question, is how do you break that cycle? And I guess I want to back up and even think about, is the framing of the cycle really the right frame in the first instance? Like when I come through this, is it a cycle of offense, or is it a continuum of abuse that we as a society have placed on these young people, right? Like, is the cycle that we just keep abusing people? Are we the problem as opposed to they're the problem, And so I think of, one of the young people in our podcast, he was first arrested when he was 12 years old, and he first got handcuffed younger than that for skipping school. It was the first time he felt himself in handcuffs, and then for a schoolyard fight, he found himself in the Tombs,
and the Tombs is shorthand for
where we put people for pretrial detention after they've been arrested in New York City. And so he found himself sitting in the bowels of a police precinct waiting for his opportunity to go before a judge to be sentenced because he literally had a schoolyard fight. And that was his entrance into the system. This was somebody who has a range of mental health issues, not profound ones, but ones that are meaningful and that I can relate to, frankly. I can remember having when I was a kid. But I had the kind of support to make it through my childhood with anger problems and with, mild depression and things like that. Instead, he found himself sitting in a jail cell. And that then led to a series of arrests, and, I won't give away his story, but once he got into that system, he never got out of it. And the question is it about his behavior, or is it about we began abusing him at that age as a society and still have not stopped?
What I find so powerful about this is that these are stories told by these young people. Why was it important to put the mic in their hand?
If we want to focus on help, if we want to figure out how do we help instead of punish, then we have to talk to the people who need help. They have to be the ones leading the conversation, and that's particularly true when we're talking about people who are 10 and 12 years old. And so we thought it was really, really important to tell these stories through their lens, to let them explain what it is they're facing.
All right. Well, hearing from these young people who we often talk about but don't hear from, I think is going to be really interesting for a lot of your listeners.
I hope so. I hope so.
To learn more about America's imprisoned youth, listen to WNYC's podcast series, Caught: The Lives of Juvenile Justice, at WNYC.org.